to do it outside today because of all the crazy shit that's going on. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love Arizona. It's, 70 degrees out here. It's beautiful. I'm just enjoying the park, man. But today's story time. I'm gonna tell you a story when I got set up by my own guys. I almost got 63 years because of a gun that didn't belong to me. So let's get into it. What's up, guys? JC with Wrong Strong. Welcome back today. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, share it, tell somebody about it. Today I'm gonna share a little story about how I got set up with a dirty gun. Way back in the early 2000s, I fresh out of the federal prison, I met a woman that was a little bit older than me, but her whole family was connected. They were from Guadalajara. So, my criminal thinking, my criminal mind, I decided to pursue her and, marry her. And that's what I did. She had 7 sisters, 7 brothers, and they were all well connected. Even in Chicago, they were connected with politicians. So I wanted to move up the rope, and I did. Well, one night we went to downtown Chicago to go celebrate our wedding. It was a big nightclub in downtown, and we got there. I valeted my truck, and they parked it. We went inside the club. The club owners were, for some reason, being very, very nice and sending me over bottles to VIP, and it was bottle after bottle, and the twins were there that night in VIP also. And I'm not gonna say no names. You know who you are. Karma's a bitch. And we spent the whole night there. It was a big eye-opener for me. This is when I started to realize that my own boys were my worst enemies, actually. That night when the club was done and closing, one of the owners approached me and told me to leave through the back so that way I wouldn't have to deal with the crowd in front. So I told my wife, let's go. We went through the back. I noticed there was a bunch of guys standing by my truck when I was walking to it. Well, these were all cops and civilian clothes. As soon as I started walking towards my truck, they asked me if I was, Julio Almanza. Proceeded to say yes. They told me to put my hands behind my back, that I was under arrest, and I was like, for what? My wife started panicking, and they arrested me, and they pulled out a gun from underneath my seat in the truck, a chrome gun. I didn't have a gun on me that day, and the cop, just kept on going on about how it was my gun, how I was gonna be gone for life this time, and to touch the gun, grab the gun, and I knew something wasn't right, something was wrong. So I kept my mouth shut, didn't say nothing. Got taken to the police station, and I got booked into county jail. Well, by then my wife had made some calls and got one of the top lawyers in Chicago to take my case because he was a family friend. Just to retain this lawyer, it's pretty much $100,000 just to retain him for a case. So, and I'll go more into that in a couple more factors, but he took my case, and I was so disgusted with crew, my boys, that I decided to, I guess what you call, drop my flag, and I asked to get moved to the Christian deck. The Christian deck is in Unit 10. It's a max security unit, but it's one of the only decks that there's really no gang affiliation. Everybody that goes there is because they want to change, they want to become Christians, they get into that religion pretty hard. And I asked to get transferred there. Well, they didn't want to transfer me because of my background. My lawyer made some calls, and the white shirts came in, grabbed me. They told me you must have some friends, in high places, and they moved me that night. I went up to the Christian deck. I was very, very disgusted with the fact that I knew that it was my own boys that had did this to me. And like I said, I'm not gonna say no names because they know who they are. And got arrested, went to the county, and I sat there and fought this case for a couple of months. The only thing I realized is that when you have money to get a lawyer, it's actually a lot easier to beat a case. Couple months passed by, and the judge actually released me to fight this case from the outside because she didn't like a lot of the stuff that she was reading on the paperwork. And what I mean by that is it was an anonymous phone call. The guy that parked my truck never showed up to testify. There was just a lot of iffy things in the case that it didn't look right. I was actually on federal probation when this all went down, so I should have had a federal hold. And for some reason, God let me walk out that day, and I walked out that day at 2 o'clock in the morning. My wife was waiting for me outside, and 2 months later, he ended up beating the case because of all these, iffy things on the paperwork, the anonymous phone call, even the cops didn't even show up for the first day of court. And you gotta realize in Chicago, it's like I've always said before, man, it's a gangster ass city, man. Chicago has been gangster since day one. They just never put it on, the news and stuff like that, like it is now because of social media. But there's a lot of dirty ass cops. There's a lot of dirty ass, people on payrolls. There's a lot of affiliated members that are cops, lawyers, you name it. The gangs have been able to, get into a lot of places that gangs don't get into in other places. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of COs that work at the county jail that are kings or were kings or hung around with the kings, 2-6, SDs. I mean, you name it. There's a lot of affiliation in Chicago because, like I said before in my past videos, it's almost normal to be in a gang in Chicago. And they're very, very organized. When I mean about organized is, they have prayers, paperwork, everything is down to the T. I mean, back in the day when I first turned a saint disciple, we actually had to fill out an application with our name, address, emergency contacts, immediate family, all that stuff. We had to actually fill it out, and this would all be put into our paperwork of our unit. The thing is that they're so organized that money's collected, everything, so they've been able to get into places where a lot of gangs don't get into in other places. I'm not saying that it's good, it's bad. I'm just giving you an explanation of how it went. When I got released that day, a month later, I ended up beating the case, and I beat it, and that's when I you know, I started staying away from 59th Street because I didn't trust them no more, and I knew they were out to get me. The reason why they did that to me is that they were very, very upset that, you know, I had got out of the feds and I had made some connections, and I was doing big things for, you know, they considered me to be a nobody because I was like the shorty. I was like the young kid that when the older guys start feeling like they lose their spotlight, a lot of jealousy, a lot of backstabbing, a lot of stuff happens. It's crazy because you've seen some of the biggest gang wars start over, I mean, even a girl. It's crazy. It's crazy because, like, it's all jealousy and backstabbing and greed, and it's so bad to want what another man has. Like, it's so bad. And, you know, I started to stay away from 59th Street, and that's when I ended up, you know, turning a Land King, because it got to the point where, you know, people were trying to kill me left and right. And, you know, like I said in my past video, Kato told me, hey, you know, you grew up on, and it is 30th Street and Christiana. I was saying 29th, and everybody was like, there is no 29th. You're right. It's 30th Street. There used to be like the train tracks, and there was like an auto body place, and you used to be able to ride through. There was like a road, but I guess now it's closed off. So it is 30th Street and Christiana. So thank you, my subscribers, for correcting me on that. But, you know, the biggest thing why I share all these stories is so you guys can see that, you know, it's not what it's all cut out to be. It's a very dangerous life to live. Your own friends try to kill you, your own friends try to rob you, your own friends, you know, backstab you, your own friends. As soon as you go to prison, they'll be trying to get with your lady. Like, it's just crazy, and it's not a good place to be in, you know. And I've been able to share my stories because I made it out. I was one of the lucky ones. I get so many phone calls from, you know, my dudes back home, and just messages about how proud and, you know, and how happy they are to see me doing what I'm doing, that it makes me happy. It makes it worth it, you know. It makes all this worth it. And, you know, one day I'll be able to, you know, steer one of these kids away from 59th, from 25th, from all these neighborhoods that are, you know, using these kids. You know, they're using these kids to do their dirty work, and all who profits. It's all the older guys, and I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth. You know, the thing is that, and I'll make a video why I was looking for a gang and why I joined and all that stuff. A lot has to do with, you know, at home stuff, you know. So, you know, I was trying to see if I could remember more details about it. I also need to give a shout out to one of my boys. I need to give a shout out to Irvin Martinez. That's my boy, and he's friends with one of my boys in Chicago. You know, somebody that I've, you know, been very close with since day one, and he didn't even know the whole story when I ended up flipping the Land King, you know, and he hated me for a while. He didn't know what was going on, you know, until we actually talked, and I told him the story about everything. And, you know, he talks to me now, you know, we talk a lot actually, and he understands, you know, and he's actually pretty proud about what I'm doing and how I changed and what I'm doing now, you know, because not a lot of us make it out, man. I'm telling you, I've been to more funerals than quinceañeras in Chicago, and most of my boys have passed away. A lot of them have passed away. And, you know, you gotta think the impact this causes on everybody. I mean, I'm talking about, you know, not just the dude doing time, but the dude that, you know, lost his life, his family, their family. And it's crazy because all we're doing is just killing each other, man. For what? For a street that don't even belong to us? For colors? For what? I you know, I ask myself now, like, that night when I went into the club, and I thought that that I was this big shot walking in, and I was in VIP, and you know, the twins sent me over a bottle, and it's like that scene in Scarface where he walks in and everybody knows him and the cop comes up behind him. You know, it's crazy because it's so glamorized here in the United States about being a gangster, but you know, it's time now to actually show the ugly part of it and the other side of it, and that is the death, the time in jail, the addiction, everything that comes from it, because you don't realize how fucked up you end up at the end of a lifestyle like this. I mean, even my boy texted me last night and he said, you know what, sometimes I have a hard time sleeping because of all the shit that we did back then. And people don't realize, man, like, this is why sometimes I have so much in common with, you know, war veterans, because they've seen so much that they come back, and it's like, it's crazy, the PTSD, it's crazy how fucked up you end up with the dreams at night and all that stuff. And the thing is that I try to help as many as I can, but more people need to step up and speak. Ex-gang members, you know, all these dudes that made it out, they need to step up and pull somebody up, because if not, it's going to continue to get worse. You know, there's a lot of young dudes going to prison right now for life sentences and not coming home at all. My little cousin Leo, he's gone for 63 years. He went in at 17. Like, that's crazy, man. And we're losing all these young kids, man. All these young kids to this madness of gangs, colors, streets, and getting taught by the wrong mentors. So this is why I do what I do. Take it as it is. Like I said, my channel is not a cooking channel. It is a learning tool. I share my story because I want to help guys like me and motivate guys like me that made it out. So it is what it is, man. My name's JC. I am Wrong the Strong, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, share, tell me what you think, and I'll keep you. And this mannequin that's sitting right next to me, she doesn't move. That's my fiance. Yeah. That's Mrs. Savage. She doesn't talk.